Hello and welcome to Levels Plus Whenever episode 129. And we're doing something new for this episode. We're going to start ranking genres, and we're going to start off with one of my favorites, fighting game genre. I don't have any pickups this week, so let's just dive on in. Alright, and welcome to the first of the genre-based ranked episodes. And this is probably going to be one of the biggest. I have found 110 different fighting games to put on this list, and we're going to narrow it down to a top 11 instead of 110. And I have put everything on here that I have played. So that means games that I didn't like are also on this list. We're going to be very competitive here. And I've also put things that are fighting adjacent. So like Punch-Out's on here, Urban Champion, Karate Champ, Great Swordsman, Way of the Exploding Fist. Games that you might not immediately think fighting game, but I think are adjacent enough to be considered in this discussion. And the fun thing is that we're going to get down to like probably a top 30 relatively quickly. Because there's quite a bit of games that I'm not even going to consider for the top 11. So you can't probably see everything super clear, so I'll just run through the gamut of things we've got. We have 3 rows of Capcom, practically every Street Fighter, except for all of the 4s and any of 5. We have Darkstalkers, Cyberbots, and Techromancer, Red Earth, Capcom vs. SNK, Pateron vs. Capcom, all the Marvel games, which I just finished playing Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter very recently, so I got to add that to the pile. Pocket Fighter, Project Justice, and the 2 Power Stones rounds out theirs. For SNK, every Fatal Fury that was on the Neo Geo is here. We have Match of the Millennium and SBC Chaos, Gallows Fighter, the original Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown 2, and the 2020 Sam Show, and the King of Fighters 95, 94, 95, 97, 98, 99, 2002, 11, 13, 15, and R2 for the Neo Geo Pocket, along with Kasuna Encounter, Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, Aggressor Dark Combat, and World Heroes in The Last Blade 2. We got some Bandai Namco with 3 Tekkens, the original Tag Tournament, and Tekken 8, as well as the first 3 Soul Calibers and Dragon Ball Fighters. Sega has 5 Virtua Fighters, Fighting Vipers, Dark Edge, Sonic the Fighters, as well as Bleach Dark Souls, which Treasure developed for them. Arc System Works, we have 3 Guilty Gears, the original, Accent Core, and Strive, along with Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. For the Mortal Kombat's, just the first 3 and then Ultimate 3. The 2 Injustice games, Pit Fighter, Primal Rage. All of the Smashes are here. The 2 Punch-Outs that I played, which is the original and Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo. Joy Mech Fight, Urban Champion. Taito's got a decent little block here with Dino Rex, Global Champion or Kaiser Knuckle, Violence Fight, and Great Swordsman. Data East, we've got 2 with Karate Champ and Fighter's History. Dark Rift from Chronos, Square Enix, well, just Square, honestly. Bushido Blade. Konami's got 2 with Yair Kung Fu and Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for the Super Nintendo specifically. Doomsday Warrior from Nihon Telenet, Balls, I don't remember. Hudson's Primal, or Bloody Roar, Primal Rage. Melbourne House's Way of the Exploding Fist. Koei Tech, well, just Tecmo's Dead or Alive 2. Rare's Killer Instinct, and Erika's Fighting EX Layer Alpha, I guess is what that A means. There you go. That's the whole list. Let's start dropping stuff off of it real fast. Because to get to contenders of 30 is what I'm kind of thinking. Maybe we'll do 33, because that way I can keep the 11 tag and it'll make things easier. Street Fighter 1, absolutely not, is staying on this list. Street Fighter 4 is also leaving. I'm just knocking out the games I really dislike first, so that way you know. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Original is going away. Infinite's also leaving. SBC Chaos, Art of Fighting. I have too little memory of Sam Show 2 to even have an opinion. King of Fighters 94 I think is too early. I really did not like King of Fighters 13 at all. World Heroes is fine, but not worth keeping. Only one Tekken staying on this list, and only one Soul Calibur staying on this list. I'm going to leave all the Virtual Fighters for now. Dark Edge, fascinating game. Not very good, though. Sonic the Fighters, interesting. I don't remember Bleach well enough to keep it. If I'm going to have a Guilty Gear, it's going to be Strive. I didn't really care for Cross Tag Battle a ton. I'm afraid none of the Mortal Kombats are going to make it. I'm not that interested. Same with Injustice. Pit Fighter is like second on my worst game list. I don't like Primal Rage. Brawl out of the Smashes and 3DS, those will be the two that will drop early. Punch-Out's not a game for me, neither is Super. Joy Mag Fight's cute, but not worth considering. Urban Champion is trash. Dino Rex, another fascinating but janky game. Global Champion / Kaiser Knuckle in its final version, kind of interesting. I'll keep it for now. Violence Fight's going away. I don't like that game that much. Great Swordsman is probably the best of these outside of Way of the Exploding Fist of this style of gameplay that I'm going to keep in consideration. So Karate Champ can go. Fighter's History can go. Dark Rip can go. Yair Kung Fu can go. Doomsday Warrior. Balls. I don't remember enough about Bloody Roar to have a strong opinion. Dead or Alive 2 I don't want to keep. Killer Instinct I don't want to keep. And Fighting Layer EX Alpha can sit out as well. So, with that first round, let's do some narrowing down of the list so it's not quite so spread out. Alright, I can't count. This is 12 by 10, so that was actually 144 games. But we have narrowed it down to 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 74. So, kind of knocked that list down by half. So from here, I know of ones that I'm going to just drop as well. So let's just go through this round. I'm going to keep OG Street Fighter 2 because that game has a lot of sentimental value. Championship Edition, no. Turbo, kinda. Super and Super Turbo. I'm gonna pick Super Turbo of those two. Of Street Fighter 3, I think we can get rid of New Generation and Double Impact and just keep Third Strike and 6. Alpha has some significance for me. Alpha 2 doesn't. I'm sorry. But Alpha 3 certainly does. I like both CBS games, so we'll keep those for now. Out of the Darkstalkers games, 3's the one I've got the most attachment to. Cyberbots is a cool game, but it's not as cool as Armored Warriors. That's my favorite Capcom mech game. Techromancer is really neat, but I don't have it anymore, so that kind of says something. I'm going to keep Red Earth because I think that's good. Tatsunoko I'm going to also keep. Project Justice is also staying, but I think Pocket Fighter can sit out. Out of the Marvel games, I definitely want to keep X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel 1, Marvel 2, and Ultimate Marvel 3 in consideration. Having replayed all of these and playing Marvel vs. Street Fighter for the first time, X-Men is a great prototype, but it is not definitive. I think Marvel Superheroes is better, but in comparison to its tag-based sequels, not as good. And this is the weak one. We'll keep both Power Stones for now in consideration. For SNK, this is very good. Probably one of the best portable fighting games of all time. Gals Fighter is also pretty up there. I liked Sam Show, but I got it on the Switch, and I probably shouldn't have done that. Because I don't have it anymore, and I don't have really any interest in picking it up. Kazuna Encounter, I really like Rosa, but the tag system's really janky, so I think we'll just let that sit out. Out of the Fatal Furies, it's the real bouts, and Gauro Mark of the Wolves that are going to be moving on in consideration here. The first 4 are perfectly functional up to good, but they're not my favorites. Out of the KOFs, 95 can sit out, 97 can sit out, 98 can stay, Evolution can stay, 1002 can stay, 11 and 15. And then, of course, the Last Blade's getting to stay, and that's it for SNK. For Bandai Namco, Tekken 8 and Soul Calibur 1. I don't like Dragon Ball FighterZ that much. Strive gets to stay. I'm going to keep Way of the Exploding Fist because I think it's the best example of that style of early fighting that I actually kind of like. Let's just get Tournament Fighters up here as well. Konami's best effort in the genre by far. As well as Bushido Blade. We'll knock them up here. I think out of the 2 Taito choices, neither of them are going to probably make it higher than this last round. And out of the 2, I think Great Swordsman is the more interesting. For Smash, I'm putting Ultimate and the original. Melee is great, but I haven't played it in like 20 years. And Wii U was eclipsed by Ultimate, so... And then we got the Sega bunch. I'm just going to stick Fighting Vipers up there because I enjoy that game a lot. The original Virtua Fighter, I have a lot of sentimentality about. 2, less so. I played it less. But I remember playing 3 a lot as well as a kid and thought it was mind-blowing. 4, I have played less, but I will keep 5 in consideration as I have played that more recently. Alright, well, round 2... knocked us down to what's starting to really look like a solid list here. But we still need to eliminate some things. We're not quite to that, what I thought would be a 33 number. And we are currently at 44. So we gotta knock out 11 more games out of this list. So let's talk about Street Fighter in terms of what I think is iconic about the Street Fighter games. Because we've narrowed it down to 7. And I think 4 are what I want to keep in consideration. And out of these, I'm gonna retire Turbo because I didn't play it as much as I did the original. And I'm going to retire Super Turbo because of the same deal. We're keeping Third Strike. We're keeping 6. I may have gotten into the Alpha games. It's one of the first fighting games that I really spent a little bit of time on in the arcades. But it was Alpha 3 that taught me how to play Street Fighter professionally, for lack of a better word. So that's the one that's staying. CBS 1 is good, but CBS 2 is great. I'm going to just slide Project Justice up here already because I know that's going to stay. Out of the Marvel games, I'm going to keep 3, and it's going to be Marvel 1, Marvel 2, and Ultimate Marvel 3. X vs. Street Fighter is great, but again, it's an evolution process, and this was the first of the tag games, and it kind of shows. I don't love Darkstalkers. I wish I liked it more than I did. There's some great characters, but I feel like they are perfect for team ups and crossovers, not team overs, as I was about to say. So I'm gonna go ahead and take them off. Red Earth is a beautiful game, and I want to keep it in consideration at least through this next round. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom's also staying. Out of the Power Stones, I think I prefer the original, and we're gonna cut that one. Okay, out of the SNK games, I'm just gonna go ahead and take out the original Real Bout, because Real Bout 2 and Special is kind of where it's at. And I think it's like that. I think that's the actual order. Match of the Millennium also gets to stay, but I'm going to let Gallows Fighters sit out. Garo is absolutely staying on this list, though. Out of the King of Fighters, let's do the same thing. Let's just knock out one. And of the ones that I would knock out, it would probably be 98. As iconic as it is, I prefer 02 for the crossover appeal. 99/Evolution was my introduction, so I have very strong feelings about it. 11 is my favorite, and I think 15 is a very good game. And The Last Blade staying as well. I think both of the Bandai Namco games left can be in consideration. I also think Strive should be in consideration, as well as Ninja Turtles, as well as Bushido Blade, as well as Ultimate. Let's see, 12, 24, 27. One more to go, and I'm going to knock out Virtua Fighter 5, because I haven't played it enough to feel like it's the strongest one left. All right, let's reorganize this so we're actually got a list of 33. Okay, we are down to the 33 top fighting games per me. And now we're going to get down to just that top row. But we got to knock out some that I don't think are going to even have a chance to get into that top 22. And that's going to include Great Swordsman. That was going to be the one I was going to cut if we had to cut another one. I think I'll cut out Real Bout Fatal Fury Special because Real Bout 2 is my preference. Red Earth. Original Smash. Way of the Exploding Fist. Original Virtua Fighter. KOF 02. Power Stone 1. Ultimate Marvel 3. The original Street Fighter 2. Match of the Millennium. That should get us to 22. Let me reorganize. Alright, we are now officially in the really hard part. Because I cut a couple games that I really do like in that last round. And we got to get down to a top 11. What I think I'm going to start doing, though, is building the ones that I know deserve, in my opinion, to be in the top 11. Just based on my top 111 list. And that might actually solve this problem for me. So I do know that Street Fighter 6 and Street Fighter Alpha, Capcom vs. SNK 2, EO, Project Justice, Marvel 2, Garo Mark of the Wolves, I'm pretty sure Last Blade 2 is still on there, Soul Calibur 1, and Strive, as well as KOF 11, and Smash. Okay, well that was an easy round. Here we are with the 11 best fighting games in my opinion in order. Narrowing down from a list of 144, not 121 as originally thought. And this feels good. This feels right. And relatively speaking, this was a quick sort. I think some of the other genres are going to be a bit more difficult, even though their count won't be as high. Smash Ultimate is my favorite fighting game. It's kind of hard for me to not pick it given the breadth of the roster and the uniqueness of how that game plays. There's lots of arena fighters, or whatever Smash is. Platform fighter, I think is what it is. Nowadays from indie devs and such, but I still think Nintendo and Sora and currently Bandai Namco have got the formula perfectly sorted out with Ultimate. And it's got so much content. There's so many characters, so many stages, so much music, so much variety. It's very easy to just get lost playing Smash because there's so much going on. Add in the fact that you can play up to 8 players is still bananas to me. It's a shame that its biggest fault is its online connectivity. But since I don't play online a ton as it is, that's not a huge detriment to me personally, but it is for quite a few people. But on the grand scheme of things, it's what it says on the tin, which is what I said in my review. Smash Brothers Ultimate is the ultimate game in terms of this genre. I go back and forth on Capcom vs. SNK 2 and Street Fighter 6. I think Capcom vs. SNK 2 is the pinnacle of Capcom's 2D fighting games. Even if there's quite a bit of recycled sprites on the Capcom side of things, it's just a brilliant game. It's fun, the roster choices are solid and have quirky character choices. There's some that I wish were there that aren't, of course, and that's always the case. But the thing about CVS2 is that it is just sheer fun, and it's got such a strong visual aesthetic to everything. The worst part about it visually is the effects for the projectiles and such, and that's really the only gripe I have about CVS2. It is about as perfect a ratio-based fighting game can be, and I am so excited to be able to play it again on my Switch next year. Street Fighter 6, on the other hand, brought this franchise that I have loved since I was like 9 or 10, and fell in love with the art and the characters and the strategy guides that I had well before I even had an opportunity to play them, since I didn't have a Super Nintendo or a Genesis or a PlayStation. It wasn't until the Dreamcast that I could actually start getting the experience outside of random arcade encounters to learn how to play Street Fighter games. But Street Fighter 6 rescued a franchise that had been floundering in languish for me personally with Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5. I really did not like the aesthetic choices, the visual design of the characters, just the vibe of those two games at all. They were not designed for me. Street Fighter 6, on the other hand, is. It's a great callback to the older games, in my opinion, in terms of how the characters look. Even though it's more realistic, it works with, I think, how the original Street Fighter 2 and 3 were represented. And I think it's one of the best playing games I've ever had the opportunity to embrace in the genre. It is so much fun. The World Tour mode has been like something I have greatly relished playing. And the new characters are generally all superb. Like, they stand tall with some of the greats that Street Fighter has built over the years. So 6 is a return to form that makes me extremely happy. I love being back in love with Street Fighter again after so long. Because the last game that I was in love with in the series was Street Fighter Alpha 3. What a great segue. I thought Alpha 3 was the best Street Fighter game for a very long time. And the depth of its roster, the 3 isms that you could pick, the just general vibe changes from Alpha 1 to 2 to what Alpha 3 is all about is something that I like more. For me, Alpha 3 is like the complete Street Fighter anthology up to its release. And you can even get a little bit of Street Fighter 3 in it if you play the Game Boy Advance or PSP version with Yoon. As well as Maki and Eagle, who all appeared in CVS 2. And if you got the PSP one, you also get Ingrid from Capcom Fighting Evolution. But I just think that Alpha 3 is just, it's kind of like the Smash of Street Fighter for me. It's just got practically everyone is here that was in the original games. The only thing that's really missing is the roster of Street Fighter 3, but even then you can at least get one of them if you really wanted to. But I just love that game. It gives me good feels. And I would love for an actual console version of that to end up on something, but at least we're getting Upper with Capcom Fighting Collection 2 next year, along with CVS 2. So I'll at least be able to play as Guile, and DJ, and Fei Long, and T-Hawk, and Balrog, and Junie and Juri properly. Evil Ryu, Shinakuma, they'll all be there. So that'll be nice. Mark of the Wolves, SNK's finest fighter. I'm so excited for City of the Wolves. I'm hoping it is remotely as good as Mark of the Wolves is. Mark of the Wolves is like the premier game to answer Street Fighter 3 for SNK on more limited hardware. And they pulled off a game that rivals the extra animation and just visual fidelity that the CPS3 board gave Street Fighter 3 with the very aged Neo Geo hardware. It's a technical showcase, honestly. Along with that, Mark of the Wolves plays really well, and it has a really strong character design and has a really strong style. It's just a brilliant game. And like I said, City of the Wolves looks like it's the evolution of it in every way I could hope it would be. So I'm very excited to get my hands on that next year. The Last Blade 2. I love this game. It is so stylish. It is so strong with its entire motif of samurai era sword fighting. Great character design, incredible just ambiance and mood. Like the soundtrack goes so well with what's happening and it's really understated. Some of the most beautiful backgrounds in any fighting game. What a marvelous game The Last Blade 2 is. And then we have King of Fighters 11, my favorite in that storied franchise. And it's kind of a tag game. But what I think I like the most about it is just how it feels. It's got a good game feel, and the tag element does add to that. It makes sense with having a roster of 3 characters that you could swap them around. And assigning a leader, which gives you a special move or super move that you wouldn't normally have access to unless they're that role, is kind of a cool idea. It also has really strong art design. And even though it was made in kind of like the tail end of SNK's spiral as SNK Playbore, it's really strong to me. It's my favorite of the series. It has really good vibes all the way around, despite all the trouble that the company was experiencing at the time. It, to me, is like a return to form after kind of the dismal Maximum Impact in 2003. So I'm really happy that it exists, and I would love to be able to play it on something modern. I'm still kind of hoping that SNK will get around to a compilation of some sort for KOF. Having replayed all of the Marvel games that Capcom did in the last week since I got Arcade Classics Fighting Collection, Marvel 2 is still the one that stands out. Just because it takes that formula they had developed over 3 games with tag fighting, adds another character, adds in a lot more gameplay mechanics and characters for sure. One of the largest rosters of the early 2000s, late 90s. And even though a lot of it was recycled, it still has a fresh vibe to it. Despite the loss of animation across all those games these sprites are from, it still works. It's still fun, even if you are not a professional. My silly team of Gambit and Jill and Cammy function. I don't know if they're viable, and I don't use assists anywhere as much as I should, but my goodness, that game is fun. I just think Marvel 2 deserves all the hype that has built up over the years. Soul Calibur. Bandai Namco has yet to recapture the magic of the Dreamcast. I almost want to call it a remake. It's not, it's a port. But the substantial improvement in the graphics between the arcade and Dreamcast versions of Soul Calibur is like night and day. It is a monumental evolution of the medium right in the hands of players who bought the disc. You put that thing into your Dreamcast and your mind was blown. You couldn't believe graphics could look that good. Thankfully, it also plays extremely well. It is probably my favorite 3D arena style fighter. It just feels good. It's got a lot of nuance with its controls, a lot of moves that you can kind of play around with. But it's just strong. Soul Calibur 1 is strong. 2 and 3 tried to carry it on. Some people like those games. Some people love 2. But I've always been on the camp that Soul Calibur 1 is where it's at. And I think the solo content and the art gallery that is connected to it really helped, because there's just some really sick art, and that mission mode's fun. Guilty Gear Strive is really good, especially now that I have a character that I really, really love playing, which is Elfeld. It is a visual masterpiece, one of the coolest looking video games, period. And the banging soundtrack and just the metal vibes that coat everything from the life bars to your super meter to the menus, it's just brilliant. And the game just is marvelous to look at. Even when you're not playing and just watching other people play, it is fun to watch. I really like Strive. It's my favorite of the series by quite a long shot. And I am very excited to see what's next for Arc System Works. Because Strive Season 4 will probably be, I'm going to argue, probably the last one. I want to see what they're thinking about doing for another game here in the near future. And last but not least, number 11 falls to Project Justice, another game that's going to be on Capcom Fighting Collection 2 that I am just ecstatic to play again. I think Project Justice has such good vibes, incredible character design, fun to play, goofy, kooky, runs with its high school anime flavor better than most any other game that I could think of. Just Capcom was really firing on all cylinders with that. Its biggest flaw is that when you compare it to its contemporaries like Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, it is not as visually stunning, but it's certainly functional, and I think the character design carries it a lot. But it's just great. It is a marvelous little game that I'm so excited is getting a second chance at life next year. If I were to have 12, Third Strike would probably be here. And since, 11 is kind of awkward, we're going to make this a 12. I'm improvising on the fly here. Making this a top 12. We're putting Third Strike there. Third Strike is number 12. And the reason why is because it is Capcom distilling that franchise to its peak, its perfection, in terms of gameplay, moment-to-moment footsies, how you interact, the animation, the backgrounds. It is a fantastic looking, playing, sounding game. It is one of Capcom's strongest efforts. It is just a little too technical for me to really get into it too deeply, and I prefer these 11 games above it. But it is absolutely one of the top fighting games of all time. If my bias wasn't here, it would probably be number 1 or number 2. If I was just looking at it from just a general distilling of the genre, it would be up in the top 2 for sure. But this is my list, and it's affected by how I interact with it. I think number 12 is a very respectful place for it. All right, thank you for joining me for that. I hope that you enjoyed me sorting out the best fighting games according to me. We'll be doing top 12s instead of top 11s moving forward. I kind of realized very late into recording this that they should be top 12s. I will be taking a little break from videos for the rest of February. I want to get started on Femtendo writing, and this is proving to be a distraction. And I would like to not be distracted. But we'll have more videos coming up in March for sure. So I will see you in a few weeks. Until then, thank you for watching and take care.